Hey guys, so today we're gonna be doing a Uzi Vayne matchup. Um, it's gonna be okay. I mean, I just saw his headphones. That's something. That is something. Those look really uncomfortable, by the way. Anyways, it's gonna be Uzi's Vayne with Pike versus Ezreal Bard. Yeah, let's play it out. See what happens. See what they're thinking. And again, if you guys have any questions in chat, and this is my first time watching the videos, so if I miss anything, feel free to point it out. If you disagree with anything, feel free to point it out. And then if you really disagree with anything, and you think that I'm a complete fucking clown, then come to my Discord and book a debate session with me, and we can talk about, you know, why you think that anything that I'm saying might be incorrect. I'll try to reply to as many constructive comments as possible. Majority of my comments are really either divided into 3 sections. It's mostly the first section is, hey, you know, good job, blah blah blah, and you know, those are always nice to see, so I always do appreciate the support. The second comments are, wow, you sound like LS, what the fuck, and then the third ones are, you know, you're an asshole. So I'll try to reply to the first type of comments, ideally. So if you have any questions, feel free to write them in chat. Anyways, okay, let's move in. So Bard actually goes ahead and tries to... Okay, well, this is pretty good by Ezreal. Now, what Ezreal is trying to do is, because he knows that Vayne has no response early on in the wave, he just looks for that early Q, and we know that it's just free harass. And what's actually end up happening here... What actually is happening here is that Ezreal and Bard have first response on lane, and so what's actually going to end up occurring in the lane is we will not be able to contest for level 2, although we do want to try to cushion the fall. Now, what I mean by cushion the fall is we should be aware of the fact that we're not going to be able to get level 2, and the wave will end up coming. And so if Bard and Ezreal are not able to actually harass us, or have no way to respond in damage as we go in for CS, then we should try to get as much CS as possible. The reason for this is there's 2 reasons really. The first reason is we want to not end up having this wave, along with the second wave, end up being too big around this area, and so then Ezreal and Bard have a longer period of time to essentially just tether against us. And the second reason is we want to try to maintain the HP of these backline minions so that they're in proper last hit range as the second wave does end up arriving. And at this point, if you're Ezreal and Bard, and you know, you have, you know, a brain, then we know that the bounce back on 4 and 5 relative to how the jungler may position is almost inevitable. And obviously, if the enemy jungler does end up routing a different way, then maybe the bounce back on 4 and 5 doesn't end up occurring. But relative to the routes, and if the opponent jungler does end up starting on the right-hand side, then the bounce is almost inevitable, because it does pretty much just deny Pike on level 3. Holy shit. PTA is so OP. Well, he's dead, I guess. Okay then. That was pretty good by Pike, actually. That was just really aggressive. That was really good. Anyways, yeah. Now, never mind everything that I said, because obviously none of that matters now. Now we actually have whatever. Now we can do whatever the hell we want in the lane, right? Wave 2 ends up arriving. Now, okay, this is a very crucial time in the lane, right? Because what's going to end up happening is we can do 1 out of 2 things, or we can do 1 out of 2 openings here. The first opening is the more optimal opening, and this is all relative to, this is probably the better opening, is we can hard shove wave A and B, right, which would be wave 1 and 2, into tower, and what'll end up happening is we can recall on wave 2, and then wave 3 and 4 end up arriving back into us. This is the same time when Pike will hit level 3 around the end of wave 4. And what's going to end up happening is we're going to have full safety, and now because Pike will be level 3 and Ezreal and Bard just won't have the utility to deal with an all-in support, Pike will be able to run them down in the lane, and that's just really, really good for Uzi's team, and essentially it's going to just win bot altogether. The second thing that could potentially happen is we could build up wave 1 and build up wave 2, and then as the third wave ends up arriving, we can crash on cannon. This is also going to be this is a little less optimal, and I'm going to explain why. This is a lot to do with jungle routing and how the mid matchup is if we crash on cannon, and we end up trying to harass, which we can't because we have a pike, so we have to kind of simply just walk back. We can maybe go for Scuttle Crab, and maybe we can deny off the opponent jungler off of the right-hand side Scuttle Crab, which is really good. The only downside is because of how Lucian and Diana are actually playing and relative to the matchup, where Lucian will have priority, he'll have first response into any right-hand side river fights that end up occurring, and so it'll end up being a 2v2, which ultimately will lead into Uzi's loss because the opponent jungler, whomever it is, along with Lucian, will just be ultimately stronger, although the lane, bot lane will come in, so it's not the end of the world. Now, this obviously could change if the opponent jungler was on the right-hand side, but because this is not the case, and obviously this could also change if the matchup in mid was swapped, and let's say Lucian is on your team and Diana's on the opponent team, then it's always going to be a right-hand side scuttle denial, which will then allow, if not in top lane, then a route to double crab the opponent and thus back into the right-hand side for the J4 into bot lane, because this is also going to be the same time when wave 5 and almost wave 6 are spawning out, and so bot lane is just going to, or the opponent bot lane will just end up dying because Pyke will be like moving into level 5 there. So a lot of things happening right now in the lane, and a little bit of it is abstract, but you try to take what you can and you try to improve off of it, right? I don't agree with Uzi's movements here. This is pretty bad, I'd say, but it is an option, unfortunately. I don't know why he doesn't just hard shove the lane. He would have just gotten a really good recall timing off against Ezreal, and it would have been even better if he had gotten a kill, and that would have actually ended up pretty much just ending bot lane altogether. And we know that Ezreal can't respond to actually opt to freeze the lane, not with Pyke and not with Pyke present, and the fact that there is going to take about it's going to take about 15 seconds for Ezreal without boots to end up arriving back into lane. Yep. And now at this point, please don't last hit, crash the wave. Ezreal was in lane before Vayne was, so it's obvious that they didn't leash. So we know that the opponent jungler is back on the right-hand side. Now, if J4 doesn't opt to do Golem's bot lane relative to how bot lane is playing, and then he moves, into fucking wolves, because most of the viewers are EU or NA, and we know the junglers are not the best there. So then what ends up happening is you just protect yourself. Hard shove wave 3, and then maybe you can bounce on, you can get a bounce on wave 5 with the buffer on 4, right? That's doable. But this is all just this is just not good play. Like, he should be spacing out his autos a lot more. It doesn't end up doing that. Like, this is just suboptimal. Diana, or J4 is just, yep, Echo is on the right-hand side, but we knew that, and now what ends up happening is we end up locking the 4th wave, and this is really bad for Pyke, because now Pyke is going to hit 3 on this, and Ezreal and Bard are somewhat safe. We're not going to talk too much about trading. I mean, you guys should know, like, at this point in the videos, trade mini and trade pocket, etc. Yep, this is really good. Oh, okay, so we actually end up, wow, okay, this Pyke's smurfing. Wow, my god. Yeah, this is really good. Wait, this guy's actually just mentally AFK. What the fuck? Okay, well, yep, now at this point it's just to dive, because we see J4 on the left-hand side of the map, and it seems like Echo was pushed out, so he actually did opt to take the right-hand crab. Teleport comes out, Diana ends up formatting Ezreal. This is pretty standard. And this is okay because Diana actually ends up arriving at not the best time, because now she loses the wave. But it's not so bad because bot lane ends up getting ahead, and so Diana's disadvantage, her slight disadvantage, doesn't really matter too much. Although, she got the kill, so I guess it's fine. But if she didn't, then it wouldn't have been optimal. I mean, she did split 4-way, but it's whatever. Anyways, as we discussed, the next wave is arriving. This again is the 6th wave, I believe. Yep. Ends up arriving into lane. And again, we're just going to simply play the lane out. And as you can see now here, this is very weird, right? This is kind of int. Like, why are you moving in when, Ezreal doesn't have any last hits to take? It's just a little suboptimal to try to go for this. If Ezreal opts to auto back, well, this is actually completely int, so let me take that back. Ezreal doesn't actually opt to hit Uzi back there, so it ends up working out. The wave is coming into you, and now all you have to do is you have to level this wave enough that you can get a freeze in this angle. And then relative to how J4 is positioning, he can easily go from whatever he's doing now into golems, into bot lane, or simply you can just wait in the bush. And at this point, you need to communicate and ping your jungler. If you're a master challenger AD carry player, The one thing that holds back most players, even in the highest levels and the best regions, is the lack of communication through pings, because players just don't understand these situations in the moment. And so if you want to get better, then you have to be able to do this kind of stuff, along with, you know, be mechanical as well. Anyway, so yep, we're just looking to, yeah, Ezreal's just slow pushing because Ezreal doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to hard push. Now we're just waiting. We're feeling really good right now. We don't have to try to do anything. This Q is very aggressive. I mean, if he is going to opt to do this, he is going for Bard, and the reason he's going for Bard is because Bard will just heal, but if Bard has no HP, then obviously nothing can end up occurring. Okay? So, yeah. Okay, yep, I mean, wow, this is very just basic stuff. As you can see, he's actually fighting for the minion here, and the reason is J4 is going for left side jungle, or left side, he's going for the dragon. Not left side jungle, sorry, he's on the right hand side, but he's going for dragon. This was very weird by Uzi. I don't know why he walks in. This is kind of int when he just walks into Ezreal. Now, like, this is acceptable if, let's say, Bard is like Thresh or Bard is Nautilus and he already used Q. Then this is acceptable, right? Because then you could actually end up hitting Ezreal as Ezreal goes in for, let's say, for example, this Q here. And then maybe you can try to pull the wave into an angle which would be a little further away from the clash. And so if the clash is played around this angle instead of somewhere here, it's a lot harder for Ezreal to actually break, and thus and therefore you can actually thin it a little bit more better. But this is just weird, because he does this a lot where he randomly queues in. I don't know if he's trying to send a message, but it's definitely not working. Yeah. Next wave ends up arriving. Now we're just trying to look to auto as much as possible. These little spaces that Uzi is autoing, they're, like, again, this click here doesn't achieve much. Just auto this minion already. Hit this minion. Bard and Ezreal are too far back to do anything to. You have to try to thin out this wave enough so that this guy can try to look for something, and then this guy can kill Dragon and maybe walk down, even though he's kind of low on health, right? But when you don't thin out the wave properly like this, it becomes really awkward, especially with the proximity of the next incoming wave. As Uzi here, you should be willing to lose some HP in order... Wow. Wow. That is... This guy is seriously smurfing. Wait, what is that interaction? Oh my god. And now he can just... Oh, he condemned him. Oh, I thought Pike stunned him. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't see the condemn go off. It's hard to see the auto and then the condemn. It all looks the same. Oh, so he just condemned him. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, now the lane's essentially over. Now we just hard shove the next wave in. Yeah. Come back with that thing, and then yeah, this is just very one-sided play at this point. Wow, yeah, there's like nothing really more to go over. Anyways, I'm gonna stop the VOD here because the lane is actually over. Uzi is 3-0, and there's really not much else to do. I will cover as many VODs as possible. I'll try to do at least 3 or 4 a day. Maybe a little less in the beginning, but I will try to post as much as possible. Again, I will try to answer as many questions as possible, and again, if you have any disagreements with anything that I say, or you think that you feel like I could have pointed something out that I didn't, feel free to comment in the comment section. And if you really think that any of my videos, my recent videos, have major flaws in them, then feel free to reach out, and we can always talk on stream and just kind of debate them and whatnot. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you for the next VOD.